So one of my favorite episodes of the show that I ever recorded was Paint&Talk episode 31. The episode titled, Take Your Ego Out of Your Art. It's actually the first good episode I thought I ever recorded. First time I didn't feel absolutely terrible after recording. And in this, as much as the title might be misleading, I talked about how you should really remove your ego from your art, not in an aspect of removing your sense of self, but removing your fears. And I think it's strange, right? I think this has dwelled in my head so long, not just because of that episode, but because I've always kind of used that as a mantra. Take your ego out of your art. And I think it's a really imperfect one. Because it's not so much about taking your ego out of your art literally. It's more about taking your ego out of your art and in the fears that are coming from your ego, right? A very common example of this would be many people are very scared of going all in on social media because they'll be judged, they'll fail, they'll be cringe, X, Y, Z, right? This is a fear that comes out of ego. You want to preserve your sense of self. You want to preserve this idea that I am a likable, cool person in my real life, and you are very scared of the fact, because of your sense of self, that everybody's going to watch it and be like, this is the lamest guy ever. He does not look as good in that hat as he thinks he does. He should put on that other hat. I know this hat makes my head look a little bit weird, guys, okay? I'm saying this because this is a very real fear that I've gone through. I mean, you know, I think I'm more comfortable with being on the internet than many people, and I've gone through it a ton. And that's why I think I want to come here, though, and talk about the role of ego in art, more from a sense of, like, how useful it can be. You know, I do think that we should remove our ego from our art in terms of our fears, but I think more adequately it's put that we should remove our fears from our art, right? I think that'd probably be a much better way of putting that. So I'm more interested nowadays in removing your fears from your art and keeping your sense of self in it. And I mean this in perhaps the most literal sense I can mean it. I think that you should be in your art. Like, I don't think that you should create with your ego. I think you should be creating your ego. And I mean ego here, not in its colloquial term of, oh, this guy's got a big ego, right? I don't mean it in terms of like, this guy thinks he's really cool. I mean it in terms of like your ego as in your sense of self, the dictionary definition of ego. That's what I'm thinking of here. I think it's extremely useful, right? Because your ego is oftentimes the most honest form of yourself. There's things about ourselves that we all think that we would never mention in a group. You know, if you're sitting around with some friends, you're not going to mention your sense of self as a big thing. That's actually, there's a huge stigma around that, of seeming as though you think something about yourself, anything about yourself, right? Have you guys ever noticed this, that we don't preface just the good statements about ourselves, we preface all the statements about ourselves, right? You know, if I'm talking about how I feel like I talk a little bit too much, right? I will preface that by going, I'm not trying to fish for comments, but I feel like I talk a little bit too much, even down to physical things, right? I'm not fishing for comments, but I think my hair looks bad right now. I think that oftentimes you'll even suggest these things as questions to make it seem as if you don't have a sense of self. Does my hair look bad right now? I don't know if my hair looks bad right now. I don't even think about myself like that, right? We're so scared of putting our sense of self into anything, and I don't know why. I think that there's an argument that maybe it's just the way that social etiquette's developed. I think this is probably a much bigger thing than I'm capable of even answering, right? But I do know that your sense of self is very honest, and maybe that's why we try to protect it so much, because it is this honest thing. It's a very vulnerable thing. It's hard to lie to yourself about yourself forever. If you have the sense of self, I'm a cool guy who wears, like, you know, the coolest things. I'm always on trend, I'm a cool guy, and that's not really you, that's inauthentic. Someday the jig will be up. Maybe you'll go 20, 30 years. Maybe you'll never truly find yourself, but no matter what, you'll always have a little voice in the back of your head, right? Authenticity is something that's very easy to fake for other people for periods of time, right? I mean, we've all been around a group and tried to act like, oh no, I'm chill around you guys, and you know, maybe they're not exactly your type of guys, but at the end of the day, when you're alone, when it's just you in the room, your true self will come out at one point or another. One of the huge reasons I advocate for alone time. And this is honest. And I think that I'm about to make a big statement here, not even trying to defend it, just throw it out there. And I think this is something that I need to someday talk about, because I don't know. I think good art is honest art. I do. I think that this is one of the reasons fear spawning from ego is so dangerous for art. Because you're gonna lie to protect your sense of self, to protect these fears. Out of fear you will lie, and somebody will pick up on that lie, and they will not feel you as deeply in that art because of said lie. This is a belief I have that is founded in nothing but observation. Like, I genuinely, this is one of the reasons I've never made an episode or a video about this, because I actually tried to write scripts about this multiple times. For a whole 2 months, I tried to write a script about this very topic, because I'm so passionate about it. I think about it so much, but I cannot defend it other than a hunch. Other than the fact that so many artists credit their success to their honesty. That's all I can really say. That's why I believe this. I think good art is honest art. I do. And sometimes it's hard to be 100% honest about things, right? If I want to make art about the world around me, let's say I want to make a statement about society right now, it's hard for me to be 100% honest about that, because, well, I don't know everything. I don't know everything about the world around me. It's impossible for me to. There's things that I've never seen. There are places I've never gone to. There are ways that my perspective is inherently going to be uninformed. Some people's might be better than others, but it's really hard to make 100% honest art about that if you're making a statement as a whole. I think Star Wars is a great example of this. I'm not a huge Star Wars fan by any means, but I think that made a really honest statement about what was going on in the 70s, about this one specific thing, and it resonated with a bunch of people. Even past that, though, George Lucas did not keep making those honest statements forever. People have felt that the series has fallen off, and I feel that that's because there's an element of dishonesty that has come from an imperfect premise. It's a very different conversation for a different time, but the point is, it's hard to be 100% honest about something you don't know 100%. I think this is why, like, it's really hard for a straight guy to make good art that is about maybe like a queer struggle, right? I think that's why that's really hard, because, like, how do you be honest about something you don't know? And I'm not saying it's impossible by any means. I genuinely think art's a zone where anyone can do anything, but when it comes to art based around maybe identity or experience, it's hard for somebody to just lie and make it up. This is why I think genre is actually so prevalent. Like, I think people make so many sci-fi stories because it's easier to make something abstract than it is, like, it's easier to make this fancy scenario than it is to try and make up a story. If I want to make a story about feeling disheartened here in the city of New York, in this giant city, right? And I've never felt 100% disheartened because I've never been that alone. It's much easier for me to make a whole new city in a whole other planet and feel it there than it is for me to lie about feeling it here, right? The point is, and I'm drawing this out way too long here, I think honesty is extremely important. I think it's not impossible, but very difficult to be honest about things that you don't know 100%. What do you know 100% though? Yourself. I mean, not really, but yeah. Like, not so much that you're going to be able to figure out yourself right now. Like, I don't know 100% of myself. I discover new things about myself every day, as all of us do. That's part of being human. But you're all right here. Like, it's like, if I want to make a statement on society, I might have to go do research, I might have to travel, I might have to ask experts, I might have to just, walk around and find out new stuff. If I'm sitting, writing at 2 a.m. about this statement on the city I want to make, and I'm missing a piece of information, I'm going to have to go out in the world to find it. Maybe, right? I can make it up, but that's where that dishonesty comes in then, right? If I want to make a statement about myself, if I want to make art centered around myself, that's pretty easy now, isn't it? If I am missing an element of it, I'm right here, I can ask myself, I can try and look within and figure out the answer to this. And I think this is one of the reasons art's so like introspective too. I've long said that as somebody who reads and like exercises and is focused, I don't know, on improving themselves. I don't think so, but holds up habits that I think are very much like in service of myself. I think that art does way more for me in terms of making progress in myself than anything. I think it builds character way more because you need to look within, like 100%. Even if I am, back to that example, making a story about a city that I don't 100% know, something like that, and I'm lying a little bit in it, the one part I won't be lying about is myself. And that's why people end up putting so much of themselves in art, because you as an individual, your ego is the thing you lean back on. So, do you need, am I saying here you should make art that's like literally centered around your ego? No, not by any means. I don't think that's a good idea. I think that'll lead to a lot of very stale feeling art. You know, unless you're a abnormally awesome person, I think that all of us should probably take a little bit more of the world around us and put it in there too. Or maybe make art about something a little more abstract. Again, that's why genre I think is so great. You can make a story about yourself that exists a million miles away in space. But I think you should put you in there because it's honest. This is the painting. I'm very mad about this drip down here. This is the final with these colors. I just wanted to do them 3 even. I really have nothing to say about these still. They look great. I think they're very visually pleasing. And they would make some great interior design in the whitest household in the safest suburb in America. But don't know if they're exactly what I'm going for personally. They're cool though. I enjoy them. Anyways, what do you guys think? What do you guys think about putting your ego in art? I'd love to hear it in the comments below. And until next time, guys, gals, and pals, my name is Max Dice. This has been Paint Talk episode 177. I'm here every morning, painting and talking with you all.